Welcome back, Sleepyheads. So, I wanted to come on here tonight and have a little discussion about the negative and positive reality of what trauma is in this world. And it's crazy, I just recorded this video, but something happened on my phone and the camera just cut out completely. So, the spiritual ops are certainly alive and well tonight. But I will go through this again. So, if you think about the positive purpose of trauma, we know that it's for us to grow and to ascend and to evolve our souls, essentially, not only for wisdom, but for us to have that collective unity with the universe again. Because I call it like the harmonic connectedness, and that's essentially what our soul's goals are to reconnect with the source, but we have to be at a very high vibration to do that. And the only way we can do that is by going through the life experiences here on earth, and it's an easy way in the third dimension for a soul to learn, heal, and grow, right? But the issue with trauma at this point in our modern society is that it's not easy anymore to heal, learn, and grow because we have these distractions with entertainment, and we have the bombardment of marketing and fear strategies that get imposed on our sense of being on a daily basis. And then there's also the simple fact that there are other beings on our planet that are extracting our energy and basically deterring our abilities to spiritually ascend from this dimension. And I think a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, but that is the collective brainwashing. We have been taught that we're the only people, you know, on this planet, and we're still trying to discover if life is out there. But there's been so many accounts and multiple people have experienced making contact with other beings and being able to tap into higher dimensions. I think there's a lot of illusions placed on our realities, and that reality literally changes what we're able to see. It's like how in a lot of movies, and like if you even think about like Harry Potter, and the Muggles, essentially, they cannot conceive the magic realm because they don't believe in it and they've been told it's not real. And if they did have some experience of it, they would be they're so brainwashed to believe that it's not what they saw, and they would cover it with logic or perceive it as something else. But the reality is that we've never been alone on this planet, and there are beings that don't want us to tap into our psychic abilities. And I think a lot of people are so stuck on psychic abilities and the conceptions of magic. And I know there's dark magic in this world, but there is good magic where people are able to heal others and heal this earth and heal themselves. Like those are positive conceptions of magic. But there is dark magic out there. But overall, in this version of the Bible that has been manipulated and used to shape society, we are told that, psychic abilities are bad and magic is evil. And that has brainwashed us to stay away from it. But the reality of that is that it's limited our capacity to not only learn and grow spiritually, but it traps and limits our consciousness and our conceptions of our reality to the point where when we go through trauma, and other negative, situations in our lives, we can't tap into the full healing potential that rests within us, that allows us to see things from a higher minded perspective, because we are limited by what we're told our reality is. Um, but I believe collectively, that's all changing. And I think we've seen that a lot more in the past few years. But so the positive aspects of what trauma was meant to be, we aren't able to grasp onto that full reality of that. And if we think about how our traumas are being used against us and the negative aspects of that trauma, basically it's diminishing our abilities to learn and heal and grow and ascend from this dimension. And because of, that collective brainwashing, the propaganda against spirituality and spiritual movements, and, those real accounts of, how things are shaped in our government and our society, and how it's all being labeled as conspiracy or delusion or mythology, or whatever they want to call it, to get people to not believe and not engage. I mean, you really have to think about accepting the fact that you have allowed someone to tell you that the power of your mind, you've allowed, you know, another force, a group of people to tell you that your mind is limited. And people wonder why it's so hard to believe in that your full potential, that ultimate reality that you're trying to create, and why you can't connect with those emotions. It's because, you know, our traumas are being used to create blockages in our spiritual ascensions. And I've talked about your spiritual tether, that connection with your higher self, our traumas. And let's just be real, there are beings that are creating societal traumas, and I think 2020 is a really good example of the societal trauma that they created, because when we experience those traumas, we'll have to process and heal, and we have to overcome all of those negative emotions and perceptions that have developed from that trauma. And we have that ability, but at the same time, it's not easy, because we have 9 to 5s, we have all of these new responsibilities from, our the modernization of our culture and our society, that, pull us away from our spiritual practice and that time to heal and learn and evolve. We are constantly being pulled into another direction. And when we have that time to, focus on our spirituality and our growing and our learning, we are just wanting to escape from those negative emotions. So we give in to, temptation, and we focus on entertainment and pleasure, because we'd rather feel good than, dive into that spiritual work and really get to the bottom of what we need to do to heal that trauma. But something else I realized today too is just that trauma, the traumas that we experience that are being used against us, it's blocking our abilities to tap into the joy of just being alive and living. And if you saw my last spiritual message video, it was about the new moon sort of epiphany that I had about needing to let go of, my dreams, and my dreams were sustaining my ability to want to live and be on this planet. And when you are able to disconnect from those dreams, or whatever you're using to sustain your existence on this planet, whether it's, material items, or, relationships, because we have a codependency on all these things. I don't have a romantic partner. I have family, but I'm not codependent on other people in that sense. For me, it was more so my dreams, but we all have a codependency that, we use to cope and to help us maintain our sense of aliveness. But that true sense of, living and joy from living comes from being in the present moment, but our traumas, they keep us in our heads and they keep us in spaces of grieving and overthinking and cycling through negative perceptions. And it's hard to break free of that. And then there's aspects in our media and our culture that are making it even more difficult and causing a distortion in our abilities to connect with the mindset of our higher selves that says, no, this is the purpose of this trauma. Everything's going to be okay. You're just going to have to keep finding the joy in the moment. And but what I mean by finding the joy in the moment is by being present and being able to breathe and be grateful for whatever you're experiencing and who's around you at that moment, even if it's really dark. And I know that's easier said than done, but that's the true mental game of life. That's the true spiritual battle, is being able to see past what reality is throwing at you and find the beauty in that experience and still find things to be grateful for and still see the beauty in this world. And we have to really utilize, our third eye and all of our other senses. They all need to be working together to bring us to that space of persistent awareness, you know. And I think we just have to, to get out of our heads, we have to connect to our environments. We have to see, we have to allow the emotions or the landscape of nature or the difficulties and what our challenges are in that moment. We just have to allow them to be what they are, and we have to embrace it. We have to accept divine timing when it comes to healing and working through trauma, because it's not going to be overnight. And it's so uncomfortable to be in that space of healing and to work through your negative perceptions and emotions and heal, those aspects of yourself so you can get to a better space. It's not an easy thing to do, but again, that is the true spiritual battle that we all have to go through every day. And that is the challenge of our realities and our existence. And that's how our traumas are being used against us. And it's like I really want to, I feel like organized religion, I've said this before, I see the positive aspects in it. It saved people, it saved communities. And in a lot of ways, let's just use like Christians for an example. They don't believe in psychic abilities and they think it's all witchcraft. But if you're talking to God, guess what? You're using your telepathic abilities to connect to a greater source of energy. And those telepathic abilities stem from, the fundamental forces. I'm talking about the physic fundamental forces in the universe. So it's like electromagnetism, and gravity. You're using all of that to basically create a movement of energy and send out a signal, and you're able to channel information, your prayer, you are, it's the same thing. You're using the higher capacity of your mind, your body, and your spirit. That's what psychic abilities are. It's not dangerous. And I will admit there's bad magic out there. There's people who harm others and extract energy and resources from others to gain a outcome in the reality. And that is bad. But there's not all bad magic. There's people that are using their psychic abilities and their energy to heal others, heal the land, and heal themselves. And I think that societal brainwashing that's telling people that all of it is bad and it doesn't exist and there's no such thing, it's something that you have to break through. And it's taken me years to cleanse out all of that brainwashing because really every time I would have a psychic experience or connect to a higher being or even have a connection to another other beings in this universe, my logic, that brainwashing was telling me this isn't real. You're crazy. What you're experiencing is going to create this disorder and that disorder. And I'm not saying that there's people who are dealing with really tough battles of the mind. And, I believe a lot of people who are schizophrenic and deal with hallucinations, I believe that there's some wire in their mind and their spirit that is stuck in multiple dimensions at once. I think they are seeing things and they are experiencing things. And a lot of times they are being manipulated and tortured by other beings. But if they just don't have the ability to, break free from that darkness and those beings and that energy. And, they don't have the ability to get back to, a space and time where they can be in the present moment and be in reality and not be stuck in, these multiple dimensions where they're seeing this kind of being and that kind of being and these kind of creatures. There's a lot more to it, but just never call anyone crazy because who are you to deny someone else's reality and what their mind has conceived? And it is not illness, it's just poor wiring. And sometimes it is, I think it's a part of their spiritual journey too, in some way. Um, but yeah, I think in order for people to get to that space of being able to fully heal their traumas and for the collective to raise the vibration of this planet to counteract how, there's other beings trying to lower this vibration and keep it at a low space. So we don't have that harmonic connectedness where we are able to reunite with source because, to really do that, we have to be at a high vibration. So it is in the benefit of these beings who are extracting our energy, manipulating our society, culture, and history to keep us at a low vibration. But if we are able to tap into the greater powers of our mind, and if we are able to communicate with the other beings in this universe who want to help us, and with beings in the spirit realm, we will be able to rapidly speed up our healing processes and the expansion of our consciousness that will allow us to conceive, you know, not only what our realities really are, but it'll be easier to tap into that state of joy for living. And if more people are putting out that energy of joy for living, that's what's going to raise the vibration collectively. And that's what's going to allow people to evolve and heal. And that's what's going to basically overpower the beings and the people that have taken over our planet and that have essentially, enslaved the human race. And I know people are like, oh, I'm not a slave, but trust me, if you are allowing a society to dictate your beliefs and your capacity, you have allowed yourself to be enslaved. And you free yourself when you allow your power and your mind to truly, be based off of that limitless potential. There's just so much to it. And Yeah, but I've been healing that space. I've been working through my suicidality complex. And a lot of that is in reference to my perception of pain and trauma and my fatigue of going through so much trauma. But I don't think I was appreciating how much I've grown and how much wisdom I've gained because of those pains and trauma. And I have to remember that in the midst of those experiences, that I need to focus on the version of me. You have to visualize that version of you that is healed and grown from those traumas. And you have to know that at some point, through that process of healing that works on divine timing more so than our own timing, you will get to that version of yourself. And once you do, you will be stronger and more capable of processing trauma and getting through it in a healthier way that it doesn't allow it to get stuck and fester in your mind, in your spirit, and your body to the point where you're creating mental disorders or physical health ailments, and to the point where you've clogged up your spiritual tether and you cannot connect with your higher self. I think that's the true purpose of, our traumas, but you just have to change your perception of what that experience is and why it is, and allow that pain to flow through you. Don't hold on to it. And I think there's an instinct to hold on to the pain because, you know, a lot of times it reinforces the reality that, yes, this is what you're going through. This is real, and we get trapped in that space of darkness because our perceptions of that experience haven't evolved enough for us to move through it. And, it's easier said than done, but it's possible because we have a limitless capacity to do so. We have access to powers of the mind and the body, and we can change things for ourselves. And we can get to that ultimate reality where we have the love, security, and community that we all desire. We can get there. It just takes a while to really cleanse out the negative energy, to cleanse out that societal brainwashing that tells you what's important. And that warrior mentality not only comes with the battles of the mind and being able to shift your perceptions, but it also comes with the grit and the hunger that it takes to see past all of the distractions that, are being thrown at us to throw us off course, essentially. Um, so instead of, jumping in when you're going through something, don't just go for that escape. Don't just get lost in your head, face those traumas head on and, commit yourself to working through things. And that's getting to a space of betterment for yourself. And again, it's easier said than done, but it is possible. Um, but I think we just have to normalize these things. And I think we have to stop allowing society to tell us what is real and what isn't real, especially when it comes to the powers of our mind, powers that no one can really say don't exist because, some of the greatest scientists don't even know the full potential of the human race. But I think collectively, my last video that I made in my spiritual message was getting back to basics and freeing yourself from all the things that you're holding on to, whether it's your dreams or relationships or material things. But that next space is to find the joy in your everyday reality, even if it seems purposeless and pointless. We are meant to connect with nature, connect with ourselves. We are meant to be of service in some way, and that is the purpose of our crafts and, our spiritual gifts. It allows us to not only have pleasure in those activities, but we can help others in the process. And I think we all have to normalize anti luxury culture. And it's not minimalism, but it's just, you know, we don't need the most to feel worthy or the best or anything. We have to really have that security in ourselves because, the way that money is used against us, it is so systematic and we should not forget that as well. But we just have to tell ourselves that, we don't need to keep up with the Joneses. We don't need this. We should all be working to get, land, and we should all be reading more and learning how to create sustainable lives for ourselves, how to grow our own produce, how to extract medicinal uses from plants. We need to be gaining those kind of skills. But again, we have our 9 to 5s. We have, the pathways to success that are presented to us that distract us from our spiritual success. But that's all I have for this video. I'm sure I will randomly have another one soon, but be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave me a comment on your thoughts on, you know, your perceptions of trauma and different tools that you use to access that space of joy, you know, despite the negatives in your reality. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.